Hey y'all. Oh, I'm so taken back by the story of this Emily Long. As a parent, it just makes me really, really sad. She killed her husband. She killed not all of her children. I think one of them is still alive, but when they start digging deeper into the story and talking about like all this debt she had from, I guess, stealing like money from her employers, and I think at one point she had made statements about um, like just money in general and needing money or wanting money, like being a shopping queen or something like that. And one of the things I was really thinking about was how society puts us in a place of like believing those kind of things, like, oh, I have to have a super fancy car, or I have to wear very specific clothing. I need, a huge house, even if I can't pay for it. And how those pressures put some folks in those kind of situations. Like I'd never steal, $600,000 from my employer to drive a fancy car, but like in her case, she did, and then her husband was battling cancer. So I'm sure that played like some kind of role for her. Like she was super stressed out. Like her mental health must have been shit. But even as her husband was sick or getting sicker or whatever the case was, she was still stealing from her employers. So I think it just really speaks to like not like falling for what you think is real in the world. I mean, even in the social media era where you see like, the super happy couples, they're rich, they're doing them. That's just not real life. Like everyone has problems. Life happens to everybody. And I think it's just super important to like acknowledge that life like happens to everybody. I love my husband. I think we have a good marriage, but I mean life happens to us too, right? Like every day is not a great day for us. And like not living up to, I guess, what you think society wants you to live up to, because then I think you do fall victim and you do get into those situations like this lady. She's dead, her husband's dead, and she's got this kid in the world, and both of his parents are dead, all because she stole a bunch of money from her employers and they were coming after her. And I mean, I think her husband was like near death because he had cancer, but like all to go shopping, like saying like she's a shopping queen or some idiocy like that. Like I don't fall for what you see on social media. There's so many social media what I call personalities that like you'll see them, they're on vacation, they're doing their thing, and then a month later the husband or the wife will pop on there and let you know that they're getting a divorce. Life happens to everybody. Everybody. No one is exempt from life happening to them. So like never get trapped in that bullshit. Even the fancy cars. There's a social media personality. I won't mention any names, but all the cars you guys see him drive, if you follow him, they're all rentals. They're all rentals. But he portrays himself as like this super rich guy that's got all these things going on. He's got a pretty large following, but it's it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all, and most of the time, I feel like it's smoke and mirrors. Say prayer, salvation, Jesus is Lord, and I believe in my heart that God raised him from the death on the third day. Forgive me, Jesus. Amen. Forgive us all. How about that? But yeah, I just don't fall for what you see, because I really do think social media is really more about illusion than anything else. It really is. It's more about illusion than everything else. You can't believe everything you see on social media. You can't possibly believe that just because someone's a social media personality, that life doesn't happen to them, or because someone is, an actress or an actor or whatever the case is, that life doesn't happen to them. Life happens to everybody. whether it's a sickness in their family, whether it's a fight with their wife or their husband, whether something's going on with their kids. Life really does happen to everyone. It doesn't matter if you have money. A lot of times, life happens to you even more when you have money. You're more prone to having situations when you have money, when you're not just broke and just doing your thing at home and you have your regular 9 to 5. So don't get caught up in that stuff. What is this message? Some idiot leaving messages. No, thank you. Thank you, John. Just don't get caught up in that stuff. Like honestly, do not get caught up in that stuff. For a long time it kind of kept me from even being on social media because I refuse. Like I'm not gonna just like hurry up and clean my house because I go live. No, if I have dirty laundry, I don't care. If my kids are acting up, I don't care because that's real life. Anyone that goes on social media and their house is always clean and they never are upset, they're never having a bad day. It's just all a lie. It's just not possible. Who lives in that type of world where everything is always good and always okay? I just don't believe that. I mean, yeah, things are maybe better for some than others, but that doesn't take away the fact that you're going to have stressors, your family members are going to have stressors, and that every day is just not going to be a good day. And I don't think every day was meant to be a good day, you know? Like literally, I was just sitting on my couch and in tears when I was actually watching that story on TV. And I generally don't watch a lot of TV, but for whatever reason, I was watching the news with my husband and I saw the story and I just started crying. Like, I don't know this lady, I don't know her kids, I don't know her family, but I just started crying, mostly for her child that's still alive. Like, this kid is literally going to have to walk through the world now with no parents. And there really isn't any form. Hi, Grayson. There really is no real explanation. There's no real explanation. There's no good explanation. Even going to jail is an explanation for what she did. Her husband being ill and near death is not an explanation for what she did, you know? And as her son gets older and really wraps his head around this, or, what if he sees an article about this one day? Like, how do, who's going to explain it to him? I mean, I don't know. He probably has grandparents and aunts and uncles and stuff like that, but like, how do you explain something like that? Oh, your mom killed your siblings and your dad. Like, how do you explain something like that to a little kid? All in the name of you want to be a thief and steal from everybody so that you can go buy a fancy purse and live in a big house. And at the end of the day, with all that she did, from being a thief and stealing all this stuff and doing her thing, she still wasn't happy. If she was happy, then she wouldn't have killed herself. She wouldn't have killed her husband and she wouldn't have killed her children. So even though she had all this money from being a thief, it still did not give that lady any level of happiness. I watched like a couple of her little TikTok videos or whatever. But she still wasn't happy. She still was like miserable in her own skin. And then as soon as the police, I think 2 weeks before the murder took place, the police had contacted her or whatever and like formally started this investigation, and she still took her life and their lives. So money doesn't necessarily mean happiness. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm waiting for my baby to get out of school. You guys have a blessed one. Bye.